Welcome back, everybody, to the Disney Johnson Bros podcast. I'm your host, Colton Johnson, with Colton's E-Ticket Adventures, and join with me is my co-host, Cam Johnson.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so for today's podcast episode, we're going to be diving into Walt Disney Animation Studios, as well as sharing our top 10 favorite Disney animated films of all time. But before we jump in, I want to thank everybody who has checked out our first two episodes of the podcast. It was really fun last week having our older brother Cade join us. He'll probably come back in the future for another episode, as well as our first episode, which was Disney California Adventure. And those have seen, I mean, we've had people watch them and we've heard a lot of good things, and we just want to keep that up. And we're also on Spotify, so go check us out there and like us, rate us 5, whatever you do with podcasts. And for this channel, please like, subscribe, and share. It means a lot for all of us. So, Cameron, before we jump into the history of Walt Disney Animation Studios, and not so much animation studios, more so the films, what does Walt Disney Animation Studios mean to you?
It means childhood memories. Most of the time, I have watched most movies I have watched throughout my childhood was a Walt Disney animated film, from Snow White to the newest one that comes out that year. They mean a lot, and it means a lot to everyone's childhood and pop culture to from everything. And just if we didn't have Disney Animated Studios, we would not have the Disney brand here today.
I like that. Thanks. Also, did you create the backdrop?
Yeah, I created my backdrop back here.
I like it.
It's based on my favorite version of the opening.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think that looks really cool. I chose the Walt Disney Animation Studios building. You can see it the Once Upon a Studio short film.
An amazing short film.
I love that short film. Maybe we'll talk about that on a future episode.
Yeah.
But for me, I agree. Walt Disney Animation Studios has been a fundamental part of my childhood. I remember putting in the VHS tapes from Snow White, Aladdin, Peter Pan, all these wonderful classics that I just grew up with. And it very much shaped my childhood and kind of has made me who I am today with my love of Disney. And yes, I would say I lean more towards Disney parks, but Disney is Disney, and the movies are what brings the magic everywhere. We have Disney Plus, where you can stream all of these wonderful movies, and it's just a great medium of storytelling. And I really like animation. Animation is one of the greatest films out there. And if it wasn't for Disney, we wouldn't have the level of greatness that animation has today. So I'm going to start off with our history of the Walt Disney Animation Studios. And the Golden Age is what started it out. Or some people have mentioned it. Okay, it is the Golden Age. I thought it was the Bronze Age, but I don't think the Bronze Age exists. Or Bronze Age is the Dark Age, actually. Okay. I didn't know that.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, no, of course. So the Golden Age of Disney animation began in 1937. So Walt Disney already had his studio going. He had Mickey Mouse. He had all these shorts that he put together. And it was all started, in this case, for the films, with the first feature-length animated film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This era is defined by groundbreaking artistry, innovation, and where Disney set the standard for storytelling and animation techniques. One of the biggest parts of this, and it was mainly before, was the multi-plane camera that Walt Disney put together for his animated films. We also had classics like Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, Bambi followed, um, and this cemented Disney's place as a pioneer in animation. However, the onset of World War II soon brought this era to a close, with fewer resources available for future films. For me, I love the golden age of Disney. It without it, we wouldn't have the classics we have today. And
Yes.
there's a lot of storytelling techniques that they use that are still utilized 80 years later. And I
We
think
wouldn't
that's
have
really awesome.
we wouldn't have Disneyland without that.
That's true. What are your thoughts on the golden age?
I It's one of my favorite eras in all Disney films due to the fact it has some of my favorites, like we'll mention that later. But it's just when it was almost difficult to make a full length animated film, but they achieved it multiple times.
Yeah. And even with like I remember watching, no, I wasn't watching, I was actually reading Walt Disney's biography, and it talks a lot about the development of Snow White and how it was kind of a financial risk that they took to create it, but it shifted the film industry as a whole. And I mean, it didn't take long for other animation studios to start creating other films, but Walt Disney started it all with his animated films. So, do you want to start us off or continue us on to the wartime era, Cam?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
The wartime era, the time between 1943 and 1949. During World War II, the studio shifted focus due to the finance strains, created shorter, lower budget films to stay afloat. The period is known as the wartime era and is characterized by the packaged films and the packaged films complete with into a feature length films. Movies like Salus Amigos and the Three Caballeros helped maintain Disney's international appeal, which films like Mine Make Mine Music and Fun and Fancy Free were cost effective ways to continue production producing animated content. The era reflects a time of finance recovery and strategized creation.
Yeah. And the wartime era was an important era
Yeah,
because Walt had to utilize his resource, and without it he could have just went in the shadows and never came back, but he had to create something. And being able to create some of these, um they're very underrated, and
yeah,
a lot of them are ones that I I don't even think I've watched Saludos Amigos. I watched the Three Caballeros.
yes. I
But a lot of these are very, they're more so, they tried to replicate, in one of them they try to replicate Fantasia, and it does fine, but they were just trying to do what they did best.
yeah, and
It
most
didn't
of the
work.
time during that era is a lot of people and stuff were helping out with the war effort during the
Yeah.
Second World War,
So a lot
and
of their,
making propaganda films and stuff was what took up a lot of time for the Disney company.
yeah, and so a lot of films weren't being created. So
Yeah.
let's jump into one of my favorite eras. So the war ended, and we're in the Silver Age, which is between 1950 and 1967. So Disney bounced back in full force with the Silver Age, also known as the original Disney Renaissance. So it begins with Cinderella. They decided, hey, a princess worked. Let's try that again. So this era is defined by lavish animated, timeless fairy tales, adventurous stories, and some of the just classics.
Yes.
So you got Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Sleeping Beauty to start it all off. And those were some of the highlights of this time. And we'll jump into one of them later when I talk about my list. But they also experimented with other versions of technology, like the Xerox way to save money and costs and time. And as the Silver Age came to a close, we also saw the death of Walt Disney. But the last animated film that Walt was able to work on was The Jungle Book, which is an amazing animated film based off Rudyard Kipling's novel. But you could see that this was like a triumph moment. It was like 17 years of wonderful Disney animation. This was around the same time Disneyland came to be, and Walt Disney flourished, and it was a good time for animation as well, especially for Disney. But it's an important era because we get some of these classics that I'm grateful for and I appreciate. What about you, Cam? What do you think?
It is the time of like the most like this and the golden age are the most like important ones to the creation of the modern more movies and the other like the ones that were gonna come up later, the 90s and 80s and stuff. This was like the original version of that stuff. The classics that families have watched for generations.
Yeah, because you got the war, and the war kind of
Yeah.
brought things down a little bit, but then
Yeah.
they came back. They had a comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Walt died, and that leads us into our next era, the Bronze Age, or also mainly known to.
The Dark Age. 1970 to 1988. After Walt Disney's passing, the studio entered the Bronze Age, often referred to as the Dark Age, due to the loss of its visionary. The studio struggled to find its identity, resulting in a mix films that had moderated success, like The Aristocats and Robin Hood. During this time, Disney also ventured into darker and more experimental themes, like The Black Cauldron, which failed at the box office. Despite this, the seeds of the new creative era was planted during this period, with movies like The Fox and the Hound and Oliver and Company laying the groundwork for the revival. And that this era is the era that has like identified like the dark. It was like during also the dark age of like when everything had like dark fantasy and stuff, like coming out and stuff. Like it fits perfectly in the era, but it's one of the most forgotten eras of Disney movies. It is like the ones that people like, oh, I like this movie, like, oh, you're so edgy for liking this one and stuff like that. But after Walt Disney passing, they didn't know what to do. So this is the best they came up with, and I love that they changed. They experimented in what things are like. Not count because we're only talking about Disney animation movies right now, but like the Disney live action films and stuff around this time. The most creepiest Disney movies I ever seen is
I
around this
agree.
time.
I've never seen something wicked this way come.
Okay, I don't watch that movie. That's more scary than modern horror movies.
Have you ever
So
seen
no.
Return to Oz?
Okay, we don't get to those movies yet. That will be a different video in the future.
We'll talk about the live action Disney movies in the future. But yeah, this time period and a lot of these films really did get swept under the rug. Like Robin Hood, honestly, bang. it's a banger. Like the music in that movie is awesome, and it's kind of funny because movies like The Fox and the Hound like is slowly kind of making a comeback, and
It's trending right now on
yeah,
TikTok.
it's trending right now on TikTok, which is funny.
Yeah,
Aristocats is actually getting a live action remake.
really?
So is Robin Hood. Um, in the future, I think it'd honestly be cool if the Black Cauldron, if they try to take a shot at that.
Yeah.
I
I don't
haven't
think I've
watched
never.
that.
I haven't seen the Black Cauldron.
I haven't watched it since I was a kid. It scared me as a kid, so I never really gotten back to it.
Is
But
that the one with the demon?
what's interesting about this same time is when around this time is when they did the Disney didn't make it, but the animated Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've ever
I've
um
seen. I've seen
you've
those.
you've seen it.
Yeah.
I've only watched the Lord of the Rings and then the Hobbit animation. I've not seen a Return of the King,
We
but
watched that in history class when there was nothing else to do.
yeah, but it's really interesting on how it does a lot of things. And I feel like the Black Cauldron tried to replicate that and just didn't succeed in the way that
Yeah.
they wanted to. But if it wasn't for this era and it being the Dark Age, we wouldn't get the next era. But I
Yes.
do want to appreciate the animators of this time because they
Yes.
didn't give up. They believed in Walt's vision and did their best.
Yeah.
And we got some pretty decent animated films out of it. But
Yes.
which leads us to the next one. Let me get a sip of water and then we will jump into the Renaissance. So the Disney Renaissance marked the studio's return to critical and commercial success, beginning with going back to the model of doing a fairy tale. They decided to do a retelling of Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid in 1989. So they decided to have a little bit of a mix with it. And they did a Broadway style fairy tale. So they brought in Alan Menken to do a lot of the music for a lot of these films, Howard Ashman, Tim Rice, a lot of great um, musicians, composers for these projects. And we got awesome classics like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, and they became box office and cultural phenomenons, blending
Yes.
powerful music and emotional storytelling and beautiful animation. This era reestablished Disney as the leader in animated films, and it culminated in a decade of hits that defined childhoods and inspired generations. Some of my, I think, the most of my favorite animated films come from this era because we have so many classics that like I don't think there's a single bad movie from this era in my opinion. I think they're all pretty good and I I don't know, the music's wonderful and I just love it. What do you have to say?
What I have to say about this time, it's like it is the most after not kind of the golden age. This is the most iconic era in Disney movies. To millennials, to Gen Z, this is what we got raised on. We got raised on these ones. We got raised on Aladdin, Lion King, and stuff. Lion King, a retelling of well, I found out it's kind of a retelling of Hamlet,
Mhm.
but in a lion form. And just it is just the best music in Disney history also came out of Sarah. Like um the Lion King soundtrack. I can sit down and listen to that all day. Yeah.
And it doesn't go without saying that this era inspired Disney to go on Broadway. And
Yeah.
also, looking 15 plus years later, most of the, I think, in my opinion, some of the best live action reimaginings have been of the Renaissance era. The Little
Yeah.
Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, all these classics have been reimagined because they're classics, and it was fun to transition them to a reimagining live action form, which we'll explore those. I'm personally a fan of most of the live action, and I stand firm to a lot of them. And so I think we'll make a video in the future where we
Yes.
talk about it. But this is honestly one of the greatest eras in Disney, and it's a defining era about, I mean, in agreement to a lot of what you said, Cam.
Yes.
But with all great things lead to hit or misses, and that's what you get in the post Renaissance era. Take it away, Cam.
The post Renaissance era, 2000 to 2008. When I say one of my personal favorite eras, this era, this early 2000, 2000 often, the early 2000s often called the post Renaissance era or the experimental era. Saw Disney take risk with new genres, animated styles. This era includes a mix of both 2D and 3D animation, as Disney tried to adapt to the evolving industries films like Leo and Stitch and The Emperor's New Grooves. Were quirky and well received, but often like Home on the Range and Treasure Planet struggled at the box office. It was a time of experimental and transition as Disney sought to find its next big break. This era is like the era of the top Disney movies and the bottom of bottom Disney movies that you look on Disney Plus. I don't think anyone's watching them nowadays. But movies like The Emperor's New Groove, um, and Leon Stitch, Brother Bear, those movies are like, I don't know if Tarzan's in this one. I think Tarzan was in the last one. But
Yeah,
those
Tarzan's
movies,
technically in the Renaissance.
they have the best, like, how do you say it? Third party musicians and stuff coming in and making the soundtracks to this movie. Like, I'm gonna talk about later with some movies, but this era is like my childhood. Seeing having the little DVD player on your way to Disneyland, watching it with the trailers. Oh, bring me back.
And I mean, as a 2000s kid, and you're a 2000s baby, well, we're both 2000s kid.
Yeah,
These were the movies that shaped our childhood.
yeah,
And like as kids, a lot of these we didn't really, we weren't too critical about it
yeah,
because we were kids and we had the imagination of kids. But I just
yes,
have phenomenal films like Lilo and Stitch, like you mentioned, Brother Bear is also great. And I
yes,
think it is good because there were also other animation studios that were starting to make their own imprint or their own imprint in the world of animation. We had DreamWorks, who started in the late '90s with films like Prince of Egypt, and then eventually with Shrek. And this was also a competing era because we had Pixar on the other hand, where Disney owned Pixar, and they focus on their 3D animated films there. But this is an era where they're like, maybe we'll try 3D animation. And we have some movies in this era that aren't bad. Like, I love Meet the Robinsons. I think that's a phenomenal movie. But we do have movies like Chicken Little, which if our older brother was on the podcast, he will, that's like one of his favorite animated films, and good for him. I honestly don't think that film's that great.
I say
But
Home on the Range is one of the worst Disney movies of all
oh,
time.
Home in the Range is trash. Yeah, we don't talk.
um,
Um, but this was honestly an important era for Disney, and
Yeah.
I like how they call it the post Renaissance. It's not like another dark age. Like,
No.
though not everything was strong in it, and we also have to think about the time of all of this, especially in America. There was a lot of things going on in the country or out of the country that people turn their minds towards other things instead of going to the movies and doing all these things. And so that's what led to a lot of box office struggles.
Yeah.
But looking back, a lot of these films have become cult classics. I know a lot of people who love Treasure Planet. I know a lot of people who rave on Emperor's New Groove, which I agree. I think it's a phenomenal movie.
Brother
Um,
Bear.
oh, Brother Bear is such a classic.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later.
It
But
makes me sad to think how slept on some of these movies are.
yes,
Okay, we'll go to our next era, which it's the revival era. So, revival era saw Disney return to its form and kind of go back into the animation world. And you can notice that during the early 2000s and whatever, they didn't do the classic fairy tale stories. They wanted to do something
yeah,
different. So they're like, let's go back to what works. And so they created The Princess and the Frog, which was a fantastic animated film, animated film that I honestly love and I think has fantastic music from Randy Newman. But this era also shifted because Disney's like, we have our classic form of storytelling. So why can't we use that in a CGI art form? So we did, and we got films like Frozen, Tangled, Moana, as well as other fun ones that sorry. Other films like Wreck It Ralph and Big Hero 6 and Zootopia, which weren't directly the mold of what a Disney animated film was, but it decided to be different and were phenomenal films.
yes.
So, what are your thoughts on the revival area?
It is. It is an era that has my personal ups and downs of movies I like. I have ones I love and some I strongly don't love. But it is the social media era of Disney movies, of what how Disney movies can be more popular is when this era happens. Like Frozen at the time was the highest grossing one of the highest grossing movies of all time due to the fact of how popular it was with kids. Like I remember seeing that for the first time, and that was a an adventure.
I love Frozen.
Yeah, it is overplayed, but I love it too. And just the other movies, like I can't talk too much because stuff on my list, but the movies are like Wreck-It Ralph. When that movie came out, my mind was blown. I'm like, video games in a movie aspect that'll what there a lot what yeah. This movie had a lot of like an amazing hits.
Yeah, I agree. And it's some of Disney's best storytelling and some of the greatest music. I love Tangled and I love Moana, and they're some of the greatest animated films of all time. And even Frozen, I love Frozen, and I genuinely like Frozen too. I've only seen it about once or
Yeah.
twice, and they're great.
I think Frozen 2 is better than the first
Oh,
one.
I agree, and I think Frozen Two was it grew up with us, which I
Yes.
absolutely love. So let's jump into the modern era, and I'll read this one. Sorry, we have a script written for this episode, and just so we're not saying the wrong thing,
Yeah.
and kind of condense our thoughts in a more fleshed out way. So Disney's modern era is marked by a focus on inclusive storytelling and exploring new animation techniques. In this era, we've received films like Raya and the Last Dragon, Encanto, and others. And this is the more recent era. We've also had movies like Strange World and Wish. And I mean, this era hasn't been a strong era, in my opinion, at least. I enjoyed Encanto. I think Encanto is a fun animated
Yes.
film. The music was fun. It was, in a way, it was like a modern, like this generation's Frozen. Like the kids growing up, it was like their
Yeah.
Frozen. And I still hear the songs today and enjoy them a lot. But then we have Raya and the Last Dragon, and I thought it was fine. I've only seen it once. And then there's Strange World, which I watched that once at like 2 in the morning, and I was so confused. I did not know what was going on. I don't want to spoil it, but it was something else. And then there was Wish, which, in my personal opinion, as someone who loves Disney with all my heart, I very much enjoyed Wish. And I don't think it was the greatest animation Disney's come up with. I like the songs. I like all the Disney references,
Yeah.
and I thought the animation style was unique for the time. And we have a new animated film coming out in November, which is Moana 2, which that would be fun too. But what are your thoughts on the modern era?
The modern era, my thoughts on it is mm, it started in the not a good time after the I don't know if we're gonna get into it for this, the pandemic that happened. It put a pause to a lot of creation of films. And it was also part of a very political time in our lives that like people like censorship and stuff happen. That's why a lot of these movies they try to play it safe to a modern audience. And there's good ones like Encanto. There's also Strangewood. Strangewood is the modern is like Strangewood's the modern Home on the Range.
I agree, and it's not that it's just not
It's
interesting.
it's just it's boring and slow.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it was fun going through the history of Disney animated films. So now that we've done that, how should we do this? Should we
10 to 1.
10 to 1? So should we both share? You share yours, why it's yours, then I'll share mine,
Yes.
why it's mine. Okay.
Yes. We
Would you
start
like to
10,
go
then
first?
I do my 10, then you do your 10, then we do my 9, your 9. Okay.
Yeah.
My number 10, Princess and the Frog. This was a whole, by the way, this is a list that took an hour or two to make because there's a lot of good Disney movies. My top like one, two, three, that was easy. The rest, I'm like, oh no, how am I gonna do this? The Princess Frog, why it's my 10th place Disney movie? It's my favorite Disney princess movie that came out. It has great music, has a great villain, and it's just um how does it's an American Disney princess movie. That's one of the reasons why I like it because I love America, and it's just the bayou. The it reminds me of Disneyland's New Orleans area, and that's probably the reason why it fits so good with me with the whole beignets and stuff because beignets are good, and just it was also yeah. That's I don't know. That's why it's my number 10.
So wait, before I jump into my number 10, I do want to ask, what are your
Yes.
thoughts on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, like coming to Disneyland?
I'm just finally just accepting it since I can still ride Splash Mountain because that's my closest Disney park is Japan. Because
Until
I
they get rid of that one.
Oh, they won't. It's Japan doesn't have political correctness. It's yeah, that's I'm just accepting it because I understand the song itself was a
Problematic.
problematic, but yeah, it helps the new age not have to deal with the whole debate about the song of the South anymore. It stops the debate.
Yeah.
Okay, on
Okay.
to you about your
Okay.
10th place.
My number 10 is Mulan. I love Mulan. It is one of my favorite animated films because it's part of the Disney Renaissance, has unforgettable songs, and it's a mix between it has like the musical elements, but it has the action elements as well.
Yes.
And it's a great story overall. And I love Mushu. I think Mushu is an awesome character.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy does a fantastic job in this film, and also who can't forget about one of the best animated or one of the best songs, which is "I'll Make a Mountain Out of You." That's fantastic.
Donny Osmond.
But I think your number 10's good too. It's not in my list,
Yeah.
but I very much enjoy Princess and the Frog.
Okay. My number 9 pick is Hercules. The reason why it's Hercules because it was up and like more up in the list before. It just rethinking about it. Hercules is on my top 10, and I just love the fact that it's Greek mythology, but in a cartoon format that more people can understand. And it's also in like a I don't know what what's the genre of music it is. Like the lady sing
Like
like
it kind of has like a gospel
yeah.
style.
And also like it's just a classic Disney. I think it's a Disney Renaissance movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome. I think Hercules is fantastic, and it'll be interesting to see how the live action movie goes.
I'm
That
worried.
planning. I mean, the Russo brothers are producing it, so I'm not too worried about that. I love the Russo bros.
Yeah.
So my number 9, and this was really hard because this was a lot higher, and I just had to like reevaluate just a little bit, and part of it is due to the live action remake of it, and it's Pinocchio. I love Pinocchio so much. It like growing up, it was one of my favorites besides Peter Pan. I had a fish named Pinocchio, and it's a classic tale about honesty and bravery and understanding consequences of action. And I feel like just a classic story overall. But watching the remake of it just made me very, very, very sad because I think of the quote from The Godfather. Look how they massacred my boy. Okay, you go on.
My number 8.
Yep, what's your number 8?
Mine is Ichabod, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
Yeah, because I love. Okay, I'm a big fan of Mr. Toad. Mr. Toad was my favorite, one of my favorite tracks at Disney from the videos. I don't even know if we made a top 10 Disney attraction video, but I don't know. But it's my favorite Disney attraction, and also Ichabod, the Headless Horseman, a classic Halloween film. And I just have a soft spot for for just those ones because I think we had it on VHS as a kid,
Hmm.
and that's one of the ones I watched over and over again. And I also loved Calls and the atmosphere of a crazy little frog, toad.
Frog, he's a toad.
He's a toad. Same thing, same thing. But also, it is the Wind in the Willows, and yeah, it
Have
is.
you ever, have you ever watched? I think it was produced by Disney. They created a live action Wind in the Willow?
Yep. Yep, I've seen it. It's
You,
one of my favorite movies too.
okay. I know it isn't it called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride?
I think it's called Win the Widows.
I think internationally it
Yeah.
might be called, or somewhere it's called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
It's also scary too. So
It's those films are just so interesting.
I know.
Okay, I think I agree. I like Ichabod and Mr. Toad more so the Ichabod Sleepy Hollow stuff, but I do love the song in the Wind in the Willows portion of it. I always, whenever people ask me where I'm going, whatever or whatever, I like to say nowhere in particular, and that's where I get that from. And I love the Sleepy Hollow portion, especially around Halloween time, because it's such a classic story. And I would honestly think it'd be so cool because if Mr. Toad has a dark ride, why the heck doesn't this the Mr. or the Sleepy Hollow story have a dark ride?
I think
It,
that could be a I think it'd be a roller
it
coaster.
would be so perfect for Liberty Square at Disney World. Get rid of the Hall of Presidents and just make like a dark ride of this. And then it could be just a spooky land because it already has the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me talk about my number eight. My number eight is Lilo and Stitch. And like, oh, it was so hard putting it right here because I love Lilo and Stitch. And not only do I just like, I love the animation of Lilo and Stitch. Chris Sanders is one of my favorite animated directors. He did Lilo and Stitch. He also did How to Train Your Dragon, and then just a new movie, The Wild Robot, which just released, which is getting up there in one of my favorite animated films of all time, and the favorite movie of this year. But I have a lot of close connections to Lilo and Stitch because I lived in Hawaii, and I there's a lot of cultural things that really stood out to me as I have watched this film, especially after living in Hawaii. And there's a lot of they have pidgin Hawaiian. The music's also a lot of fun, and I'm actually very, very, very much excited for the live action remake of Stitch. I think that's going to be so much fun. Go ahead, Cam.
Can talk about. Want me to talk about Leo and Stitch, or do you want me to talk about my next one?
If you have any thoughts on Lilo and Stitch, go ahead.
Leah, I love Lilo and Stitch. It just didn't make my list due to the fact that I think Stitch is an overloved character almost sometimes, and also I it's my whole thing about I wish I could gone on an alien encounter and Stitch ruined that. We talked about that, in a video I'm going to make. I'm making an extinct attraction video because I can't. But yeah, it's a classic Disney movie with the whole like Hawaiian feel and stuff. I love Hawaiian culture. I love Polynesian culture. It's my probably one of my favorite things to just now learn about nowadays. It's all about Polynesian because I'm surrounded by Polynesian culture nowadays the through New Zealand Polynesian culture and Samoan and stuff like that. But I'm trying to learn more. So that's such a good good number eight pick for you. Okay, my number seven pick, and I see on your list that's the same one as you too. It is Tarzan.
Oh, sweet.
Tarzan. Oh, I love Tarzan. The movie that the music goes harder than it has to be. By it is just the classic movie. It's like it is one of the Disney movies that's like I if I want to watch a movie and I don't know what to pick, Tarzan's one of those picks of movies. It's because of Phil Collins' music. Oh, he didn't have to go that hard. He didn't have to go that hard with.
The music slaps.
Yeah, it's just. I also listen to it when I'm sad and stuff because the song "You Be There My Heart" reminds me of my own mother,
Yeah,
and it's been very like, yeah,
but it's such a comfort movie, and it's a movie that I cling on to because it's the movie that came out the year I was born. It came out in 1999, and it's 25 years old this year, which is crazy. And thinking about that is like whatever movie came out in like the 70s when I was born. Like that's pretty crazy stuff thinking about. But I love Tarzan, and I just love the Phil Collins music, and it's just fun, such a fun story. I don't know
yes,
if you've ever seen the stage production of it. It's also very fun. I've seen um I've seen it twice. I've seen it at a local theater up in Wyoming, not Wyoming, Montana, and then I've also seen it at Tuacahn, and both productions
yes.
wonderful.
Okay. Should we just move to my number six because we
Yeah,
just had the same number seven?
I
My
wonder.
number,
I wonder if we're gonna have
I don't
more.
know if we have any more
We
that's
might, but I don't.
connected.
Okay,
I don't think so. Um,
okay.
Number six, The Emperor's New Groove, Cusco. This is one of the movies I quote on a daily basis with a lot of things. Like the movie has just, it's like I think it's like the Central America culture kind of thing, but in a fun, invented thing. This movie I heard that it was supposed to be a whole other movie, and then they made this one instead. And I'm glad they did. And they had the amazing casting of is it David Spade and
Yeah, David Spade, and it has Patrick Warburton,
Patrick Kronk.
and
Kronk is the
isn't it?
my favorite character.
Isn't John Goodman in this movie as well?
I think so. He plays the
Pacha.
yeah.
Yeah,
This it's just it also has great music too.
yeah, and that's the thing is like it started out as one thing, and it transformed a completely different way. And I feel like at the time it wasn't as acclaimed,
Yeah.
but it's one of those that have become like a cult classic for Disney.
Yeah.
And I think it's 100% missed opportunity that we haven't gotten a pull the lever roller coaster at any of the parks.
We have to have that, and we have to have Patrick Warburg be the like a live action Kronk, or like a CGI Kronk, but just
For
him
your
doing
sake,
like
keep
him doing
your hands on
the
speed,
sword
please,
spill,
and
but for this.
hang on to these little beauties. That would be super funny.
Yeah. Okay, what is your number six, Colton?
So my number six is the tale as old as time, Beauty and the Beast. And I love this for many reasons. One of the main reasons I love it was our mom's favorite Disney movie. She loved Belle. It's her favorite Disney princess. But I just love the story of Beauty and the Beast, and the music's wonderful. I also absolutely adore the live action reimagining. When that movie came out in theaters, I saw it 4 times, and it's become one of my um, favorite stage Disney Broadway shows. I've seen it multiple times in different degrees, and I just think it's just such a beautiful animated film.
I could put my thoughts to it. It's in my top 10 least favorite Disney movies. I think the plot line's weird to my standards of bestiality, but we won't get in. We won't. We're trying to be a family friendly podcast, so I won't get in deep into that. But it always has weirded me out since I was a kid, and I think it's just the fact that I'm just not a big fan of that movie.
I
It is
think
the one that
it has one of my favorite villain songs because like it's not like an evil villain song, but I think Gaston's song is just such a fun song. I love singing it.
I think another thing I have is I mixed it up with the Gaston with the not the bad guy. He's kind of the bad guy of Ichabod.
Uh-huh.
So my brain's like mixing both those songs my whole childhood. It's
Yeah.
just, but I think the Ichabod song is way better.
No, I think, but I love one of if one of my dream roles in theater, if I were to ever do theater again, would actually be LeFou. I think being LeFou would be so much fun. And I love the voice actor of this one, but I also love Josh Gad's LeFou in the live action. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's my number six.
Okay, my number five. This movie, it could. The reason why this one's not up high in my list, due to the fact that my top four is super good. My top five, Brother Bear. This movie is like I used to watch this movie on repeat as a child. The fact of like of a guy has to understand what family actually means through him dying and having to take care of a small cub as a he gets transformed into a bear and has to take care of a small cub named Coda. I named my dog Coda this last year. Like I have a dog named Coda because I just realized how much I love the movie Brother Bear and just was watching it one day. I'm like, hey, we should name our dog Coda when we get our dog. And my wife's like, it's a wonderful name. So we did that. But also, after watching a deeper meaning of watching it, also it's Phil Collins music again. More Phil Collins music. And also, I just found out that Joaquin Phoenix plays Kodai. I think
Oh,
his name
really?
is. Yeah.
That's cool.
And so it's also, I found out the deep into the plot after rewatching as an adult. It's a dog Disney movie.
It is.
The
Okay, tell. I want you to tell our viewers about um one of your favorite Disney memories. I will be right back.
Okay. One of my favorite Disney movie memories of all time has to be the time that I was with at Disneyland with my parents when I was like a kid back in 2011 stuff. My parents took me on a trip to Disneyland and on my own, like not on my own, but like with them. And we had the best experience and it was the time of experiencing Disneyland as like a again big enough kid to ride all the rides and also I was able to go eat at the Blue Bayou, and that was a great experience of eating at a restaurant that I always dreamed of eating my whole before then, and finding out the food was actually not the best. But and then on that trip, going to experience the I think it's called the Lily Bell. That's like the train called in the back of the train, the more comfortable train. You back then, you'll be as like no one just guessed. You can ask the people in the front of the front of the train station. Ask, hey, can we send that? Or we reserve a spot to send it later. And they said sure. So I got to experience the Lily Bell call. That's one of my top experiences.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Sorry, I had to go do something fast. So my number five. So Brother Bear was your number five.
Yes.
So my number five is Peter Pan, which I might shock you because you would have thought that Peter Pan would have been my number one.
How is that not your number one?
It would have been my number three. It was so hard. Okay, but over time, I mean, I love Peter Pan still, and I mean, it's in my top five, which is still a lot, and it's a classic story, and it really it's one of the my favorites, and to be honest, when they have you seen the live action version of it? Not not like the Universal created one, but the Disney one.
I don't think so.
Oh, I enjoyed it the first time around, and when I watched it the second time, I was mad at myself for still liking it.
Is it the one that came out this last year?
Yeah, last year it has
Oh, Peter Pan.
Jude Law as Captain Hook.
Oh, I tried to watch that and it was bad.
Yeah, but it's one of those cases where the live, like earlier I did say the live action movies are great, but then there's some that like almost tarnish my view of its out animated counterpart. And so that's kind of where I'm at. But I absolutely love Peter Pan. And Peter Pan's one of those characters that he's my favorite Disney character, which we'll probably do a whole nother subject about that. But I love Peter Pan because I'm a kid at heart. And I mean, I love Disney. We have a Disney channel that we talk about Disney.
Yes.
I have a Mickey Mouse watch. Like, I love Disney. And Peter Pan is one of those characters that kind of ring true to that idea. So that's my number five.
I could talk about Peter Pan. I thought it was gonna be a top one. I have looked at your list beforehand, but I just didn't focus on it because I wanted to be surprised. But seeing that as your top in your number five shocked me to my core because you is the reason why we had to watch Peter Pan a lot as a kid. Because you're like, oh, I want to watch Peter Pan. I'm like, no, but it's a great Disney movie. I don't like the I don't like the live action one. I don't think I like any of the live action ones, to be honest. I don't even like the sequel. What's it called? Return to Neverland or something like that?
Return to Neverland's okay.
And I like the first one, but I also don't like the original story of Peter Pan. That's terrifying.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
take things too literal, and I have ruined a lot of Disney movies with that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that makes me
okay.
sad though. I love the 2003 Peter Pan. That movie's like a definitive childhood movie of mine.
Okay.
And I hope that on my other channel that I'll eventually create a review for that one because I did Hook because Hook's one of my favorites. But I love
Oh,
the
Hook. Okay, never mind. Hook is amazing.
okay, good.
Okay, keep moving forward. That moves on to my next pick. Number four, Meet the Robinsons. The reason why I put Meet the Robinson number four is because it was my favorite Chuck movie when I was like five when it first came out. When it came out, I don't know what year it came out.
It came out in 2007.
So I was starting at school and stuff. It was my favorite movie. I used to run around with a little Wilbur Robinson
Wilbur,
doll everywhere.
yeah, and it you carried that thing around until it was like a thread.
Yeah, it was just an amazing movie, and also it opened my eyes to like the more of the 3D aspect of Disney movies. I think back then I'm like, why is there no other movies like more like this? But now it's more like mostly every Disney movie is a like movie like that. But also it's just has the the great motivation stuff like keep moving forward, never give up on your dreams. It's sometimes hard, like just hard to do things, but never give up. And also has one of the best villains in Disney history, the bowler
Oh
hat
yeah.
guy,
Oh, Bowler
and
Hat.
knowing the twist of it being who you know who it is.
Yeah.
I that's a villain that has deep meaning. If I don't get my sleep, I am grumpy too. I would get a little bowler hat and try to destroy the world or something. Yeah, he's like he's like a more cartoony version of Doctor Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb.
hmm No,
So
I love Meet the Robinsons, and it's definitely one of my favorite underrated Disney movies.
yeah,
And one of my favorite things about it, it has a lot of Walt Disney into it, and with the idea of keep moving forward. And Walt Disney always looked towards the future, and a lot of his ideas,
it's like a love letter to Walt Disney
it very
and
much is.
his futuristic ideas. I
Yeah.
feel like Walt Disney kept wanting to do stuff for the future is because he knew he can't be here forever. Why don't he help fix the future?
And what's so cool, and like I think about this a lot, Walt Disney has one of the biggest like physical impressions on the world. We have
Yeah.
Disneyland, which that is Walt's baby. Like Disneyland is his land and
Yeah.
our land too. Um, okay, my number four, and in my wife's opinion, it should be my number one, two, three, four, and five, and six, and seven. It's
Oh,
Tangled. And I don't get me wrong, I love Tangled, and it's one of my favorites. I have a head canon where I think it's the secret sequel of Snow White, but that's
what's
it's
yeah? We got to talk about the site all out of out of the podcast.
yeah. I love the music. I love Flynn Rider. Um, I think Rapunzel was like the Disney princess I feel like I had a crush on when I was
Okay,
growing up.
okay. Who
I'm
didn't have a crush on Rapunzel as a kid?
huh?
Who didn't have a crush on Rapunzel as a kid?
That's true. That's true. Now, but I just love the music, and it's one of those Disney movies where if it wasn't for Tangled, we wouldn't get Frozen or Moana. And it was so hard to pick and choose between Tangled, Frozen, or Moana when it came to my top 10. But out of anything, Tangled had to be there because as we go into um, the top, the top few, this is of the revival era. This is one of the fundamental animated films, and I just absolutely adore it.
Yeah, I love Tangled too. It's also one of my wife's favorite movies. I have seen go downstairs to go talk to her, and she's watching Tangled or Encanto. I didn't even put Encanto on my list. If she sees this video, I'm ruined. Nice hats. It's also just a great movie all around. Also, just it makes me not like hair that much.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Can you imagine having that much hair?
Rushing and they just need to make a live action movie, and if they ruin it, the live action, Disney would go bankrupt.
I just can't imagine them. I don't know. All right. What's your number three? We're in the top three. This is like
Okay,
the big three.
you had this on your list, but this I had to keep my mouth shut the whole time. Pinocchio
Mm,
is my third one. The reason why it is not for the movie itself, the deep like thing. Also, I love the movie. I love the atmosphere of the whole movie and stuff. It's Jiminy Cricket is in my top like five favorite Disney characters. Jiminy Cricket's in the top three, just because it is he is the conscious and stuff, and he also is the singing. Pretty sure it's the singing of "When You Wish Upon a Star," and that is my favorite Disney song, and that's why I'm like that has to be my top three. It is the iconic Disney song. If we didn't have if When You Wish Upon a Star, you'd probably be hearing a different song when the little sparkle flies over the castle. You have to have When You Wish Upon a Star. It's the yeah. You can't have Disneyland without When You Wish Upon a Star either. Name another song that you can have that has the theme of Disneyland.
a dream is a
Nope.
wish. I
No.
that's a I feel like that's a pretty big one.
And also it also Pinocchio is a great character. It's also a very dark Disney movie, and it's the one that made me laugh my head off because I thought when the swear words were like when I was a kid, like, oh my goodness, it's a swear word. And then when a Disney movie says it, you're like,
Especially in the ride.
I know. I'm pretty
That's
sure our dad still doesn't
that
like it
that
due to that
that
fact.
that's a hot take that I have, but
But the live action one's hot garbage. There's a funny thing I say about the live action, but I'll not say this because that's defamation towards a celebrity. But
I
uh,
just
but
it just I loved it the first time around, okay? Because I love Pinocchio. The second time around watching it, I'm like, why did I like this? I don't
And
understand
the
why I like this.
and the ending sucks.
Oh, the ending makes me so mad. But
It's
we'll
so
we'll
annoying.
we'll we'll talk about the live action reimaginings when we do our video on that, and I think we'll have we'll probably bring a guest onto that episode. But yeah, okay.
It's
Oh, my number three is none other than The Lion King. So you said it was easy to come up with your top three. My top three was the hardest to come up with because these like they're almost like this.
yeah.
And like depending on watches, they like waver. And The Lion King has one beautiful music, beautiful animation, and it has like an underdog kind of tale because in the production, I bring this up in my video on my other channel on the Lion King, but they're how Disney animation works. They have different little mini studios within working on different feature animated films, and so they took more trust into developing Pocahontas, and so they gave the second grade studio The Lion King. And The Lion King, based on loosely based on Hamlet and even elements of Macbeth. Um, but
And Kimba.
it's such a classic story, and it's definitely like it shaped animation as a whole. This movie's 30 years this year, and it still makes such a big impact. And there's the live action version, which I don't know what your thoughts on it.
I
I
love it.
what?
I love it.
Oh wow, that's very different
It's
than my.
it's my
I,
only live action one I actually like.
but you got to see it in theaters, didn't you?
I got to see it in theaters. Um, yeah, I saw it in luxury theaters too, so I
I
actually had a
feel like
comfortable experience.
I feel like if I got to experience it in theaters, I would have probably had a deeper appreciation of it. But the fact that I didn't see it in theaters kind of
Yeah,
didn't give me that appreciation. But I thought it was fun, and I'm intrigued to see how the Mufasa movie is gonna go.
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, The Lion King. That's my number three.
I'll talk about Lion King. It also I like Lion King. I like the cast. The cast is why I like Lion King, and both the live action and the cartoon one. From the adult Simba, called the cartoon one, Matthew Broderick. Live action, Donald Glover. One of my two favorite celebrities in the same role but different things and different. Actually, pretty cool. And also, it's just an amazing soundtrack from Elton John.
And Hans Zimmer.
Hunt,
Did you not know
okay,
that?
you can't combine Hans Zimmer and Elton John. That's cheating and make that's okay. Mixing Hans Zimmer and Elton John. That's like making a Phil Collins soundtrack.
Yeah. No, it slaps. Like I love the soundtrack to a lot. To not Latin. I mean, I do, but Lion King soundtrack.
Imagine Hans Zimmer and Phil Collins made a soundtrack.
I mean,
No.
that would be something.
Okay, are you ready to our top twos?
Top twos.
Top
Let's
two
do.
time. Dumbo. I love Dumbo. What?
Well, I'm just like surprised. I didn't. I well, I'll be honest. I did not look at your list because I kind of wanted to have that shock value of like what you're gonna throw out there. But tell me why? Why? No,
It
I'm
is
not.
the
I'm not saying Dumbo's bad.
it is the closest Disney movie that relates to like I have a closer like relationship like how I feel with the character of Dumbo and the aspect of being close with his mother and also being an outcast for being different. That was I was through my childhood. And I'm like, why am I different than everyone else? And everyone put me on a like people didn't hate me as a child. People just thought it was funny. And that's what when I was like, oh, me and Dumbo's common. We're funny. He's funny looking. I'm funny on the inside of how I do things. So it's just a close bond of that. And also has one like a song that super deep to me as a like the song from with the mother. So it's just also has one of the most terrifying scenes in Disney movies too.
Oh yeah.
Pink elephants on parade.
And what was your thoughts on the live action?
I'm gonna quote you. I'll quote you like you quote The Godfather. What you said about The Godfather, my boy. I saw that in theaters. I love Michael Keaton. I just think Tim Burton should not touch that movie.
I thought it was cute, but yeah, I agree.
It's just also Timothy the Mouse and stuff. And Dumbo's my like. If you have to pick a like a classic cartoon Disney character, Dumbo's my top one
Yeah,
because of the fact of it's an elephant. He's that if I can count how much Dumbo stuff I have in my bedroom, that's a
we
lot.
we can't. So
Yeah, that's why I have this.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, it's just a sweet. It's sweet, and it just also tells you not to underage drinking. That's a good lesson about that too. And also Casey Jr.
okay. Well, we'll jump into my number two, which is also a classic. The classic that started all the classics, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And this movie is one of those movies that, like, in just the last few years, I've built an even deeper appreciation and love as I've watched it and I've analyzed it. And especially after reading the Walt Disney biography, there's a lot that goes into this movie. And without this movie, we wouldn't have any of these animated films.
Yeah.
I'm sure we would, but not to the same degree that we do. And I just, I honestly like could turn it on whenever and just watch it because it's a classic story. I love the Seven Dwarfs. I think the Seven Dwarfs are fun. Um,
Yeah.
if you were a Seven Dwarf, what Seven Dwarf would you be? I'm Sneezy.
I'm dopey.
Okay, yeah, and we all know what our dad is.
Yeah.
He's grumpy, but yeah, I love the Snow White and Seven Dwarf. And hot take, I'm actually after they've released footage and stuff, I'm personally kind of excited for the.
I'm I'm hesitated due
I
to the
think
fact
I
it's
think
not
it's gonna
about
be fun.
it's not about the actress. It's about how they're going to keep it towards Walt Disney's vision
I
of
think
it.
I think it's gonna do well. I've heard early screenings, like early screenings of it, have been pretty
Yeah.
positive, and that it says that it does live true. It did also go through an overhaul during its production, so it would stay more true to the original. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number two. And now, drum roll, please, for your number one.
My number one.
Oh, you're not gonna let me do the drum rolls.
Okay, you can do number one. You can do number one.
Okay, go ahead.
Big Hero 6 is my number one.
Okay.
The reason why is because I have seen this movie in theaters. I'm probably spent over a couple $100 watching this movie in theaters because it is one thing I love Baymax. Baymax is my second favorite Disney character, favorite modern Disney character, and also it's the fact that it's a Marvel comic book that's so underrated that I didn't know until the movie came out what it was. But now knowing about it, knowing about the characters, knowing about the history, and also it has Stan Lee in it. And it's also my two favorite things, Marvel and Disney. And
I think
also
we
it's
need more. I think we need more.
we need more. We
I
need a sequel. We need a sequel that's good. But I'm just I don't think they will make a sequel because some of the
It's
actors
been
won't.
10 years. I don't think they are.
I
But
just see that. I see Marvel doing something with the characters when they
I
do stuff with the X-Men.
I do think it would be cool to see Disney taking another like obscure superhero group from Marvel
Yeah,
and kind of doing the a similar thing with them.
yeah. It's
I think that
also I also just love the aspect of like it's just an all-around fun movie. There's nothing like to like put it to a thing that there's like nothing. There's no negatives to this movie for me because a lot like some movies on this like my list like movies like Meet the Robinsons and Input New Grooves and things like that. I have some things I don't like about the movie. Big Hero 6 is nothing I don't like about the movie. It's fun all around. I can watch it anytime I want. It has Baymax. Baymax is the one also another Disney character that I feel close like me. I
mhm.
also love warm hugs. And my wife keeps calling me Baymax in the last while for reasons. And it's making me laugh, but also annoyed. And it's also just a peaceful movie. It's also that has a super sad ending that gets happy, but it's still sad.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Big Hero 6?
I enjoy Big Hero 6 and I definitely love how it's just a fun movie all around and it's a movie about found family. And what's fun is we got a similar movie about found family that year with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But no, I love Big Hero 6. I think it's fun. And I think it's definitely one of the other properties that is underutilized. Though there is San Francisco Square at California Adventure, I do think that they should make a full on ride somehow.
I see Japan making a section for them
Yeah, they love their Big Hero 6,
because they have a Big Hero 6 ride, but it's like a what's it called?
it's like a tug and pull,
Yeah,
something
and
like that,
people of this like Lily fans who just come to the park just to dance around the ride.
which is crazy, but I think it's
Oh,
awesome.
I want to experience when I go to Tokyo in the next couple years.
Yeah. So my number one is Aladdin. I love Aladdin,
2000.
and Aladdin has always been up there in my favorites. And I love the story of Aladdin. I love the music of Aladdin. But one of my favorite things about Aladdin, it is my favorite movie with Robin Williams. His voice work is incredible, and it makes me appreciate the work that he did. But I just love the rags to riches story, and overall, I just think it's a phenomenal film. And the live action one was fun. It's not my personal favorite of the remakes, but it does hold a very significant spot in my heart because that was like one of the first Disney movies my wife and I met. When we met, we watched that movie and it was awesome. But yeah, that's our top 10.
I want to talk about Aladdin real quick
Okay, go ahead.
since you talked about. I let you talk about Big Hero 6. I love Aladdin for Robin Williams as the genie, but my biggest thing is, but you talked about the live action. I think the live action is every time I watch it, it gets worse and worse because of it doesn't age well.
I think Jafar doesn't do good.
I think the genie doesn't do good. I
What?
don't think I don't
I
think
think
Jasmine doesn't do good. The whole song, the silent song, it is the most. It my brain hurts because it's so stupid. No one can hear us sing. They're just looking at it, just zoning out to nothing.
that's the
Oh,
point
giant
of the
musical.
song.
No, it's so stupid. She's
That's the
actually staying silent.
I know
She's actually staying silent. It's kind of funny. It's like it's when I looked at the movie theaters, I had to my break room was right next to the theater, so they played it. And anytime that song turned on, I just turned my headphones on. I'm like, she's actually just being silenced now.
that's
She's not singing. She's actually silent.
But the song is called Speechless. That's the whole point. They don't hear what she has to say.
I know. They're just like, what is she doing? Why is she eyes darting
I
everywhere?
can't wait until we talk about the live action reimaginings. That's gonna be a fun episode.
Oh, I probably will. I'm gonna find a way to wear a costume for that one.
I
It might just be a thing of duct tape on my mouth.
was like, maybe the blue. All right. Well, that concludes this bombastic, fantastic, sort of a mess of episode. But that's okay. We're still new to this. It's probably
This
going
is.
to be forever long, and
I'm
uh,
just glad we're doing one each week because it gives us time
yeah,
to bond as brothers.
I was gonna make it a once a month, but I'm like, I feel like it's a good way for us to bond and bond with other people who we invite onto the podcast. And I think our set date's Saturday. Yeah, we're gonna release them Saturdays.
Yeah,
Okay, and
Saturday. Yeah, Saturday for you, not for.
I'll do my best to get this released. Hopefully, uh, probably for me it would be later today, or as in later today, as in I'm gonna go to bed.
It's also your birthday, so
True, it is my birthday.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Thanks for being the first in your time zone and in mine. Actually, my wife technically wished me happy birthday through text while we were recording this. But all right. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm
Yeah,
sorry for this video being a mess.
and
Both
long.
both Cam and I have been sick, which we didn't get each other sick. We're thousands of miles away from each other, but we both got sick, and so like I have a cough and whatever.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share this video. It means a lot, and this is a passion project for the both of us. Can't
Yes.
start producing videos for this channel. I'll do my best to try to do some videos, but for right now, I think I'm gonna focus just on the podcast, and then my other YouTube channel, Empty Popcorn Bucket Productions. But do you have anything else to say, Cam, before we conclude?
No, I'm just glad that I'm gonna be able to make more content for this, due to I'm taking a semi break of posting on my TikTok until things pick up on the game.
Yeah. And I did want to mention this, but I'm still swayed on it. Because the name of our podcast is the Disney Johnson Bros podcast, and I'm stuck between changing the YouTube channel name or not. I don't think I am yet. I think I'll wait it out and keep it Colton's E-Ticket Adventures. But what I could do, I'm actually that might be a good idea.
What?
Is Johnson Bros E-Ticket Adventures.
Yeah.
We'll see. It we'll give it time, but yeah.
We talk to people. We talk to you. We would do a case study about it.
Okay. But if you are at watching this and have enjoyed the hour in potentially 45 minutes this podcast has gone on, maybe not that long, but it has felt quite some time. Please let us know what you guys want us to talk about and share with us your thoughts. And if you watch this, thank you. I appreciate it. And if
And
you did
also,
watch this and didn't skip to the end, be honest. Please tell me your favorite Disney side character in the comments. Okay. Well, that's it for our episode. Have a wonderful, magical day. I'm Colton Johnson signing off.
keep moving forward.
Bye.